Hello, everyone. Had a thought today, well, the last couple days from a post I saw it on social media, and I'd like to share some insight about it from experience in my own career throughout the years. And bottom line up front here, we're going to discuss unsatisfactory performance um, in the as far as not showing up, being absent from battle assembly drill weekend, or just absent altogether. Um, and then tie in a little bit of AWOL with active duty. I don't know everything about it, but I just want to share some experience and insight about that as well. So, what started this all the other day, I don't know the author. Well, it's from Task and Purpose, I think. That's what it's called. So here's the headline. Military leaders should assume an absent troop is in danger. Watchdog finds. Okay, maybe Watchdog is the... No, it's Task and Purpose. Okay? So this was shared on another Facebook group. I don't know what the comments under Task and Purpose say. Maybe I'll get to that in a little bit. Basically, what this is saying, what the premise of this was to call your troops. Okay, always check on your troops, make sure they're doing okay and everything like that. And I don't disagree with that. And again, a lot of things oftentimes tied to safety and suicide, and even recruiting and retention. And so you're hard pressed to debate or argue against that, right? Where am I going with this? So we need to also think positively. There is such a thing as no news is good news, right? Especially being a part-time soldier. So we got into the comments on the thread. I made a comment on the thread, or a couple comments to people about unsats. And I think one of the comments said something about, you wouldn't have unsats if you called your soldiers, and I've heard it before. You make every training event purposeful, make every weekend purposeful, and you won't have unsats. Well, I disagree, okay? The Achilles heel to me and the Army is the soldier that doesn't show up, that voluntarily does not show up, meaning that they are able, they signed up, okay? Look, I know it's voluntary to serve. The draft is over, it's gone. But once you raise your right hand and you sign the dotted line, you're Uncle Sam's, okay? And you need to show up, period. And what I see happening and happen out here is we make excuses for soldiers. We're making excuses for them, right? I had one fake suicide. It was a bluff. While I was CSM of the first battalion I took as an E9, okay? Turned out to be a bluff. Again, this is a hard topic for me, and it's hard because I'm just going to get right to it the way I was brought up. Again, I came up in the 90s. Mass punishment, hazing, all that was allowed. I hated my first unit. I didn't at first, but I grew to hate my first unit, okay? There were cliques. There were good old boys. It was a guard unit, all right? You had the old guard getting weeded out by the new guard, which the old guard was said to be good old boys. Well, basically, the new guard became the new good old boys, all right? And guess who wasn't part of the good old boys? Yeah, I wasn't. And I'm not trying to play the victim here. I own it. I'm good with it. All right, I've gotten over it. I still showed up. Many of us did. Love or hate it. Okay? I had a commute when I joined. I think I was 35 miles from home to my unit. Now I know that's not astronomical or anything. Again, it's guard, it's state, right? It's not federal. I had a car that was reliable. Again, living in Indiana, we had winters and everything. I still showed up and I was on time. And on time meant like 5 to 15 minutes early for formation. Okay? They would hold formations for accountability in the mornings, and they would drop everybody, no questions asked, if one person was missing. That's how it was. That's how it was. And there was no, I don't remember many excuses for childcare and job conflicts and work conflicts and all that. I don't remember that. I remember guys hating it. And maybe there were a lot of first termers because of it. But we had good training. I had the best training consistently of my career in that first unit. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. Okay? Much of my infantry skills came from that unit, and it paid me dividends as I moved forward. All right? I voluntarily left the unit after in my 7th year of service. Went down the road to another unit north of there. Wasn't as harsh of a unit, but you still, again, you showed up. Now, they would do door knocks, they would do health and welfare checks, stuff like that. The guard would put you in jail for being gone, for missing. They could, there's actually state laws that will allow them to put you in jail. I know what happened. Okay? We have to show up, and we cannot use this excuse of my leader didn't contact me, woe is me, woe is me. Back then we had a hard copy training schedule or newsletter mailed to our houses. I kid you not, snail mail back then. You get that. And honestly, I don't remember being called by my leadership throughout the month. I just had that. Just had that newsletter. You knew your drill dates. You get a list of your drill dates every year, and you knew where to go. So let me fast forward a little bit. I was helping out a soldier once on social media about a year or two ago. And I left that group, and I left a bunch of groups at the time, and you're going to understand why here in a minute. They had a question about promotions, junior promotions, right? Well, we ended up talking on the phone because I needed to talk to him on the phone to really understand the question where he was coming from. Now, I don't remember all the details, but I remember he was unsat. He revealed to me, because what happened was I said, you're going to need your HR help, your HR staff help to do this, to help you with, get your packet to board, all that stuff, right? This is before the OML stuff came along. It was probably in 2020. It's been a while. Sorry. But he revealed to me that he's been unsat. And he also revealed to me that he lived within local commuting distance to the unit. He just didn't want to go. Okay? That did not rub me well at all. And so I suddenly realized why we got all these soldiers out there on social media asking all these questions all the time. I'll bet you there's quite a few of them that either randomly show up or they're unsat. It's crazy. And I could have helped him more than I did. Sometimes I help soldiers so much I'd email them stuff. Email them junior promotion information. So again, you got to be careful, right? But I don't want to have to be careful. I want them to show up and do the right thing. When they go ask their questions, I want them to be doing the right things. But I can't count on that. I can't count on and trust that now. It's like somebody bumming you for money out on the street that doesn't need it, right? It's kind of like that. It's sad. It's sad. You gotta show up. Everybody's gotta show up. It's like a car trying to fire on all 8 cylinders, not a Tesla, and gas operated, okay? I'm old. So, I had another one. This is a story now. CSM buddy of mine is retired. He had a son in the Army. And this son sounded a bit like a victim, okay? So I let him in the unit. I graciously brought him in the unit, and he was red on some metrics, okay? Unit was trying to get him green, and I knew the unit pretty well by now. I'd been in the seat for long enough to know where he was going. Now, it wasn't perfect, and no unit's perfect, okay? So this soldier, E5, calls me one day, and it was coming up on I think a Muta 5 or Muta 6 battle assembly, range weekend, right? And his ETS was in like 3 months. And he basically called to complain to me about the unit and how they were doing him wrong, which wasn't all true, okay? And I knew it. Final thing he said to me, which I thought was pretty bold, was he's going to quit showing up, right? He's just going to unsat on out. And I said, Sergeant, I got nothing for you. If that's your choice, you've lost my respect, and I got nothing for you, okay? Again, folks, you got to show up. And I ain't letting go of this. I'm not. I didn't let go of it in the uniform. Actually, I did, because I didn't do enough about it, because it's just the system at this point. I did, at every chance possible, try to tell people my spin on it. And I also said that, all these efforts that they do to do this, like, they do like an AT rodeo or whatever to massively put people in the IRR and such, right? It's just a Band-Aid on the problem. That's all it is. So then they want to blame leadership, right? It's CSM Brownback's fault because, they didn't contact the troop throughout the month, or, they didn't waste extra time on this troop. No. No. You have to serve, okay? You signed up, you raised your right hand, you're going to serve your country. That's the bottom line. And you have to be held accountable for that, okay? And it just eats at me, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. We had an E7. This was my last unit that I retired out of. He'd do the 9U thing. I think he was actually a Miltech, somebody said. And he played the game. He knew how to play the system, game the system. And so he'd pop up, after the 9th U or whatever, and nobody do anything to him. And I had written a draft relief for cause in COER on him, and it would have been warranted. It would have been warranted. I don't think it ever got, ever made it through, or, was followed through with by the chain of command. But just terrible soldier, nothing wrong with him. It just, we were on virtual COVID at the time, so that made it a little bit difficult to really communicate with some of these troops. But yeah, it just, some of these instructor units, if you can't make it in an instructor unit, you just don't belong. It's like the easiest schedule there is out there. Yeah, I never had a lot of good luck or a lot of compassion for AWOLs and unsats. I guess active duty for AWOLs, they can drop them from the rolls, and then the admin side takes over and gets rid of the soldier for the leadership. So the leadership, to my understanding, is outside of maybe some counseling. It doesn't really have a lot to do with getting the soldier removed. The Army Reserve and the Guard, on the other hand, it's a big paperwork trail. There was even there came out with memo drafts, I think, where you had to include memorandums showing you'd reached out on social media and stuff to try and contact the soldier. I don't know if they do that anymore or not. Crazy. Okay. If you're a leader out there, if you're a TPU leader, M-Day leader, and don't hesitate to mark these cats unsat and do make sure they get the notice, the certified mail notification that they were that they received used for unsat. Again, you're never going to make everybody happy. It's never going to be perfect. Okay, there's a lot of hurry up and wait in the Army. Sorry, spoiler alert. There just is. There always is. There always has been. There always will. Because you have to stand ready. Okay, and to do that, you have to, if you're planning it, you have to do backwards planning, right? So let's say report time is 06 and you got a range weekend. That ain't a banker hour job. That ain't no 9 to 5er for a range weekend, okay? You got to get in there, get accountability, and get hot. And what I mean by getting hot is you got to draw out your gear, your weapon, all that stuff, PCIs, PCCs. Generally, you load a bus or something to transport a few hours away to a range, okay? And then if you're lucky that day, the range will go hot by noon, 1400, if you're lucky. You know, that's why they went to the Muta 5 model. The Muta 5 thing started in like the mid to late 90s for me. And then people get fancy with Muta 6s and stuff like that. So look here. Here's the bottom line. This is what I found as a CSM. You do no more than 2 Muta 6s a year. That's it. No Muta 8s, no Muta 10s. I think 10's the limit. No. Okay? 2 Muta 6s. And what that does is, generally you can take a weekend from the AT period, because you miss a weekend there or a month anyway with the AT going on. And you take those days and you split them off to make Muta 6s elsewhere. So you do Muta 6 early in the year, and then you do another one late in the year. Use that for your ranges, your medical readiness, whatever, right? Your main metric targets that you can't get done virtually, okay? Mass medical events were where it's at. I don't care what anybody says. If you got the numbers to afford it and do it. So that's it. 2 Muta 6s. But a range weekend is very busy. It's very busy. It may not be busy for everybody. And again, there's going to be hurry up and wait. There's going to be downtime. There's going to be white space. There's no getting around it. Because ranges are being set up, stuff like that. Typically, you have an advanced party to help things, smooth out and streamline. They draw the ammo. They turn the ammo in at the end, those types of things. Behind the scenes to really help smooth out the process of the range weekend. So then you start getting people on the range and doing all that. If they got a 0, that's probably your first afternoon alone, just doing that. And then the next day maybe qual. If you got a night fire, then you got to come back out at night, right? I mean, it's a busy weekend, okay? You need all hands on deck. You ain't got time to be doing door knocks and health and welfares and stuff. Just like if we were to go to war, if you're going to urgently go to war, you may not have time for health and welfares and stuff and feel good, moments. People got to be strong, man. You got to maintain emotional intelligence and resilience to life and its challenges, and I don't know if I hope that's taught in schools and stuff too, because it really is very much part of life. So let me click on this link for a minute. I want to see if they had any, what the link itself might have had on it with this military leaders should assume an absent troop is in danger. Look, I hope you're not hating on me, because this should be a bit of relief, honestly. Because what I'm saying here is it's not all on leadership. Okay. Yeah, you need to lead by example. You need to do the right things as a leader. But the other thing is there has to be consequences for those that don't follow the example, that don't follow the standard. You can't waver on all that. All right, so here's somebody that said, if someone missed formation and his squad leader, platoon sergeant, didn't know where he was, the company would go look for him. Suicide was an issue 35 years ago also. Okay, that's good. Let's see here. 90% of involuntary absences, but 99% of absences are voluntary. Okay? I like that. I do. Yeah. So anyway, this just triggered me to talk about unsats and AWOLs, and there just needs to be a very low tolerance for it. And you sign up to serve, you volunteer to serve. Once you sign, you belong to Uncle Sam. That still holds true. And there can be consequences and actions for it. So I hope this helps, and thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe or comment. Let me know what you think and what else you might want to hear about.